Hello and welcome back to the AI Marketer's Playbook, where we cover actionable frameworks to help you leverage AI and marketing strategies in your business. I'm Audrey, Chia, your host, and today I have with me Steven Schneider, the co-founder and CEO of Trio SEO, an AI agency that helps B2B brands design and implement ROI-focused SEO strategies. Now, before this company, Steven co-owned a portfolio of 40 blogs, managed 400 articles monthly, and scaled to 7 figures, all through SEO with no paid ads or social media. Damn, that's something I would love to do. So today, Steven is here to help brands turn browsers into buyers through a more hands-off but smart content strategy that blends human expertise with cutting-edge AI. Steven, we are so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Can't wait to dive in.
Awesome. So let's start a bit from the beginning, right? What drew you into the world of SEO, and when did AI come into that picture?
Yeah, I got my start in SEO just accidentally when I was in college. I had no idea what SEO was, never even heard of it. And a good friend back then was already building blogs and niche sites and Amazon affiliate kind of in that area. And he dropped that he was, a business owner and he had these blogs. And I just kind of was shocked and had no idea what he was even talking about. But he was actually making, upwards of like 10 to 15 grand a month from these blogs in college. And so I was just absolutely amazed that A, that was even possible, and B, that he was doing it. And I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. There's no reason why I can't do this. And so I pretty much scrapped everything I knew. I was studying finance and, was going to go down that path and still got my degree, but just kind of absorbed everything I could from his point of view and started learning how to build sites and learning SEO and how to write content. And yeah, long story short, we scaled that up from a few sites into a portfolio of about 40, like you said. And it was a pretty large operation at its peak. So it was a fun ride.
Wow, that sounds like quite a journey. It's like you stumbled upon this gold mine, right? And you're like, oh my goodness, there's so much to be uncovered. And I'm sure AI played a huge role in maybe making that an even bigger project. So tell us more about the AI part of things.
Yeah. So unfortunately, AI wasn't even around back then. I mean, this was like almost 10 years ago, but I think that the biggest advantage of where we are nowadays with AI is that I can already kind of tap into a lot of the skills that I've had and have been able to use the last decade and now be able to find little, tricks and hacks in order to just streamline a lot of our processes. So we use AI mainly in the outline creation process and more of the operations side. Everything is still human written and human edited within our agency, but we look at AI as a huge tool and point of leverage when it comes to streamlining just how to save time and increase the quality across the board.
Yeah, I think a lot of our listeners, they sometimes think that AI can replace everything, but I love what you said about it's a lot of human writing with AI in the mix. Now, maybe to take a step back a bit, for listeners who don't quite know what SEO is, in ChatGPT's term, how would you describe it to a 5-year-old? And I know there are some technical bits to it, so can you let the audience know what are some maybe technical aspects that they may not even know of?
Of course. Yeah. The easiest definition or way to think about SEO is it stands for search engine optimization. So anytime you use a search engine like Google or Bing or Yahoo or even now ChatGPT, you are essentially trying to optimize your website in order for Google to favor it and showcase you atop any search results. So if your ideal customer or client is going to be searching for your services or something lateral to your services on Google, you would want to appear at the top of the list in an organic sense. So you can appear at top from paid ads or if you pay for PPC, but organic visibility is kind of the main name in SEO.
And some people think that it's just about writing articles, right? But I'm sure it goes beyond just pushing out hundreds of articles every month. What does that background process look like?
Yeah, there's a lot of technicalities that go into it. I'll try not to bore the readers with the long list, but yeah, the main things are making sure that your site is technically sound. You don't want it to have any like dead links. You want the schema to be optimized so that Google can understand all the pages. You want the crawlers to be able to go page to page. You want to have a good site map. So you want a lot of the kind of checklist of basic fundamentals when it comes to that. Good images that load quickly. You want pages that load quickly. It should look good on mobile. Headings should be in the right format and rich with keywords. I mean, there's a long list of things. It all depends on what you're actually working on within the site, but that's kind of the main overview.
Definitely. I think some common things I hear from sometimes founders, they'll be like, why don't we just write more articles and rank for this keyword? And then,
Yeah.
and then I think like what you said, right? There is so much more behind SEO than just the content. I'm sure that there's a lot of strategy as well. And how have you seen, AI change things? What has changed? I'm sure, the landscape has probably shifted pretty drastically.
Yeah, the main thing that we're seeing is that it's way more difficult for businesses to rank organically in Google, not only because there's more players in the space, but also because Google is favoring its own self when it comes to its search results. And so you're trying to compete against the AI overviews and the AI snippets that we see in Google. There's also just a lot of extra noise in the search results. So you'll see YouTube video links, you'll see shopping links, you'll see advertisements. So you're trying to secure this really, really valuable real estate that's also, kind of surrounded by a bunch of other placements that are out of your control. And so with that, you have to be really competitive and think outside the box in order to kind of push your results higher.
I think it's interesting you said that, right? Because Google is also giving its own real estate to its own, AI search, right? But how do people get the visibility on AI search engines? I think there are quite some, articles and of course LinkedIn posts out there that talks about how perhaps ChatGPT cites its sources from as well as other LLMs. So from your experience and what you have seen so far, are there certain platforms that people need to start prioritizing instead of just getting blogs out there?
The main thing that it comes down to is making sure that your website has a lot of authority behind it. And so when we talk about authority in SEO, we refer back to the domain authority, which is pretty much built by getting other websites to link to you. And what that does is it tells Google that, hey, I trust this website enough to offer a link. And if you get hundreds or thousands of those over time, you just have more trust and credibility amongst your peers. And so um, the goal is to get the most authoritative site, to get the highest quality backlinks, not to spam the game or cheat the system. But usually those who have higher authority within their website will typically have better rankings in AI search or even ChatGPT. So that plus quality content always kind of wins.
Makes sense. But I think when you talk about authority, right, this is something that perhaps even in the past, right, in SEO, authority was already a big thing, right? So how has this shifted from the previous non-AI space to currently a very AI-led world? How do people build authority in an AI first world?
Yeah, so that's really, I mean, I wish I had these secret tips, but it's really just a lot of the core fundamentals that people are seeing still hold true. Even in today's like AI world, I would really focus on just building a solid brand. So if you're a solopreneur or a, small business founder, going on podcasts like I'm doing right now is a great way to expand your authority because you're also, looking to build relationships and build an authentic brand. And as Google and other people see your name sprinkled around other places with links back to your website, I mean, that just adds more trust and credibility into your entire business and brand. And so you kind of have to really kind of lean into networking and your industry peers and allies and trying to get creative with how you're building authority in today's AI landscape.
Yeah, I think it's no longer, something you can avoid. I think people sometimes just want to pick like one channel and build on that. But like what you said now, right? It's important to be visible, and to have that personal brand or company brand built and established on multiple platforms instead of just one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was also curious to find out. You say you use AI in your workflows, but you say it's a very human-first approach. Can you walk us through like what does that mean? How do you create content? Is it using certain tools? Are you leveraging ChatGPT? What is your workflow?
Yeah, so the main thing is with outlines. So creating briefs for each of the pieces of content. So we use SEO Wind. It's been a great tool since day one. We're really close with Tom, who's one of the founders. I think you know Tom as well, but great guy and great company. But the AI inclusion there allows us to kind of crawl different types of articles and multiple articles at once. Once we get that, we can take a look at the keywords and kind of put more of a human touch into our process and go and do the keyword research and optimize the briefs from there. We also take it as far as having custom GPTs for each of our clients so that we can upload the briefs and see if there's any specific notes that we might be missing relative to their ICP or relative to their brand or their goals when they onboard. And then we can add notes back into the outline briefs so that our writers can kind of have everything they need to hit the ground running with success. And so it's a lot of back and forth between a human touch and AI, and then kind of trying to optimize it further and further every time. But we have a great process in lock, and I think that it's been really shown through with the quality that we produce.
Makes sense. What happens to people who just use AI to generate content? What happens to their pages?
Yeah, usually it will balloon up and crash. There's usually a short-term, kind of spike in traffic because you're just producing a bunch of content. And then once Google catches on that the content might not be as quality as others, or could be lacking in some parts, it's usually kind of met with some sort of downfall. So for that reason, we highly encourage people not to use AI content, or if you are going to go with AI content, just make sure it's heavily edited and vetted before it's published.
It makes total sense. Even for me, when I work with clients, I tell them if you're creating, for example, LinkedIn copy, don't take whatever ChatGPT gives you at face value, right? Add your own personal story, add your own take, add your own perspective, examples, all these things make the post uniquely yours, so that when you're building brand, you're also building authority in a way where someone is not going to look at your post and be like, this is AI generated. But you still use AI in the process, just in a smart way. Are there any other tools or platforms that you use? I know you mentioned something like Lovable. Is that something that your team is using, and how are you using that?
Yeah, we use Lovable more than we used to nowadays. We've started leaning into the process of developing tools like calculators and quizzes for our clients, and those act as lead generators and kind of more engagement tools on their sites. And so surprisingly, there's actually a lot of search demand behind specific types of tools. And so what we have found is that we can do this SEO strategy and find these opportunities and then go and easily create these tools with Lovable, which is very similar to like a ChatGPT-esque for development. So we can just talk to the AI and have it create a great tool. And then on the back end, we can just connect it to something like Make and push all of the inputs and the leads over to the sales team from their time. So it's been a great way to really kind of think outside the box and creatively develop tools for our clients that equal leads.
Awesome. For those of you who don't know what Lovable is, it's a super cool platform where you can build many different you say tools, right? I think it would be interesting for you to share a specific use case. Could be a client or an imaginary client. So let's say you're helping maybe a dental clinic with the SEO. What would you do, or what tool would you create? Perhaps an example would be very useful for our listeners.
Yeah, so we actually have a case study on our website about this. One of the clients that we work in is in the mergers and acquisition space. And so a lot of the interest in that space is trying to figure out business valuations and how much can I sell my business for, kind of going down that path. And so they have a calculator on their website, and it's ranks for business valuation calculator. Gets a lot of search demand regardless, just for that one keyword alone. And then we have blog content that supports all of the other kind of parts of it, so we can pump more traffic over to the tool. And I just updated a case study last week, and they're getting about 175 leads a month. So it's crazy to see just the power of these tools when they offer true value to the end user and how it can be used to your advantage.
I also appreciate that you're not using the tool just as is, right? You're thinking of a very specific use case with a specific opportunity, and only then you use a tool like Lovable to meet that need. And I think that's a very creative way of using AI, instead of just using it just because I need to add one more tool to my, toolkit.
Yeah. And that's kind of how we feel too. It has to be a strategic next step, or else it's just going to take one step forward, two steps back in some degree.
Got it. And for founders who are thinking, am I searchable on AI? What do they do? Is there a platform? Where do they get started?
Yeah, I've really liked SEMrush's AI-overview. They're just releasing SEMrush 1, which is a great way to incorporate traditional SEO with AI SEO. And that's kind of been our go-to tool for a lot of the AI kind of visibility within the SEO landscape.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that as well. So if you're listening and you're wondering, am I even visible? That is a tool that you might want to check out. I think for me, it would also be interesting to find out, right? What do you think people like yourself need to do in the SEO space to ensure that their roles are always there. So in my case, for copywriters, I've heard from a lot of friends who are also worried about how AI could potentially take over a huge part of our jobs. And ChatGPT now is like a senior level creative director. ChatGPT 3 years ago was an intern who just started advertising. So we have seen that huge evolution, right, of how AI writes, how it thinks, how it responds. To this point, what are your thoughts on how people in your field should adapt and evolve to this new AI way?
It's a good question. I think it really has to come back to the creativity that comes back into the writing process and the content process and the kind of lead mechanic process. And so kind of tying back to the lovable tools and how we're making those. I think that today's age, it's so difficult to convert people into leads or get them to book a demo or to do all of these things. I always joke that, no one wants to jump on a 45-minute call after coming to your website for the first time. And so how are you able to bridge that gap and offer them some sort of engagement vehicle before you jump on that 45-minute call? And so I think that by creating these tools, you can really kind of think outside the box and get to know your ICP a little bit better. And it will just kind of ease that communication process from start to finish.
Interesting. And what would you say is like the old way of doing things versus the new way? What are the key differences?
Yeah. So in SEO, there was a period of time where you could just stuff keywords in. People were even adding content and keywords and just making it white text. So it would just look invisible, but it'd still be on the screen. I mean, these were like early days, but none of that works now. Yeah, there's a whole area that's kind of referred to as gray hat and black hat, but Google's caught on to that. So mostly nowadays, it just comes down to really high quality content that offers value and is unique and also building your authority.
Do you think that AI in the SEO space will replace an even bigger percentage of the jobs that you guys are doing now? So I'm assuming in the next few years, it will become even more advanced compared to where we are at now. What do you think the future is going to look like?
I think it's inevitable for AI to replace jobs, but I also think that it's a good opportunity for people to kind of keep upskilling within our industry and keep tapping into these tools and figuring out new ways to create business and also solve problems within our own business, but also for our clients. And so I think it's easy to want to, jump on the, oh my gosh, my job is going to be displaced, but at the same time, it's a good way to find new jobs and create new value for people around you.
Yeah, even for me, right, I think it's very important to look back and figure out, okay, what have I learned so far? But also, how do I want to stay current and consistent in developing my new skill sets? So I think having that growth mindset really helps. And also being able to say, you know what, maybe I need a higher level skill set. Maybe I need to build on, being better at strategy work, being better at sales, even having that human to human relationships, because all these things are higher level skill sets for some people in my space. They may not come as naturally, but because of AI and because of how it's taking over some parts of our work, then it forces us to evolve and pivot with the times.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a good step forward. I think if you are able to keep up with how quickly everything is changing, I think that you're going to be in a good position long term.
Yeah. So Steven, I know you've been building your company for quite some time. I would love to take a peek into your entrepreneurial journey. How has it been scaling from 0 to 1 and now perhaps 1 to the next stage of your journey?
It's hard. That's just to say.
Tell us more.
Yeah. Well, like with my first company, that was like a rocket ship, and we started that in college before we graduated, and didn't ever get a real job, quote unquote. Like that was our job as soon as we graduated. And then we scaled that to, 7 figures within 2 or 3 years after graduation. And so it was just kind of this, like I said, a rocket ship of growth. And then that all kind of disappeared and I took a full year off. And so I kind of was back to square one. And I just kind of randomly stumbled upon LinkedIn and kind of what we know nowadays is creating content. And so I started creating content and just became very consistent at that, trying to figure that process out. And that's where I met my partners, and just kind of slowly evolved into conversations and small talks and texting and calls. And we started to, have this idea around starting an SEO agency. And that was about 3 years ago. And so going from, 1 to 9 and then going from 0 to 1 again. And then now we're scaling up again. And we have about 45 clients at this time. It's again, it's just you have to roll with the life punches and kind of see where life takes you. But entrepreneurship is very difficult. I will not sugarcoat that whatsoever.
Yes, I was just telling Steven, today I felt like I got hit by a truck 3 times. So I think if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you probably understand how this is. But at the same time, it can also be extremely rewarding. Maybe for you, Steven, what has been the hardest part of your journey and what has been the most rewarding part of your journey?
I think the hardest part of my journey is keeping realistic expectations around just how long everything takes to come to life. I think it's easy to be caught up in the weeds as entrepreneurs because our life revolves around this one thing and trying to get this one thing to succeed. And so when we're working on projects for, 10, 12 hours a day, depending on how long you work, it feels like you're just pouring every ounce of your body and soul into this project and things aren't going your way. And you kind of have to zoom out and be like, yeah, I've only been working on this thing for a year. And it's like, oh, dang. Like, okay, let's give this 4 more years and then we'll kind of reevaluate and kind of see what happens in the 5-year mark. And so I think that being realistic with the progress we've made and how far we've come, but also kind of not thinking it's going to be $1 million business in 30 days. That's not realistic either. And so that's always difficult. The most rewarding side, I would say, is just being able to know that we're offering value to the people around us, whether that's in the form of clients or team members and giving them support throughout their families, trying to make sure they have good paid time off and holidays and taking breaks. And it's not like this awful toxic culture. And also just giving people within, our close circle, really good freedom and flexibility to live their life however they want, as long as, we're all kind of trudging toward the same goal. And so I think as long as we can do that, it doesn't feel like a job and we can kind of just keep doing what we're doing and having fun.
Yeah, and I think what you said about value is so important, right? Because this morning I was just having a conversation. Do you start a business for profit or for purpose? And I think it's a chicken and egg thing because one without the other is very hard to continue. And if you're driven only by one, you probably wouldn't have started entrepreneurship in the first place because you still need that fire within you to overcome all these challenges. So like what you mentioned, right? Finding that value in whether it's client work, whether it's your own team members, really helps. Do you have any advice for our younger business owners who are just starting out on their journey? What would you tell them if you had to start all over again? What would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I would suggest networking as much as possible. I'm the biggest proponent and fan of it. I think that there's so much to discover when you just meet a bunch of random people, especially internet people. The first 2 years of my journey at Trio before that was even just spent networking with LinkedIn people I had no idea. And that was how I created, opportunities around me. I found my partners and I've met tons of friends and I've gone on business podcasts and grow my personal brand. And I just kind of look back at all of that stems from networking. So just meet a bunch of people and offer value and see, don't ask for anything in return right away and kind of see where that leads you.
Yeah, and I think it's amazing that you have found your clients and your partners and maybe even community members on LinkedIn. Because I think one thing people don't realize is this is not just a social platform, right? It's a business first platform, which also means that when you come in and chat with others, they are putting on a business hat instead of people on TikTok who are probably just looking for cat videos because they had a stressful day at work and they don't want to talk to anyone. I think that lens or frame of mind is so important on the platform itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So maybe before we wrap up, I have a few quick questions for you. If you can let us know perhaps your top 3 tools, what would that be?
Airtable is probably number one. It runs my life and runs my business. I love it. I've been using it for about 10 years. I would say Ahrefs and SEMrush are neck and neck. It's hard to say which one. I've been using Ahrefs longer, but SEMrush is great when it comes to the AI overview and AI SEO aspects. And I would say Google Calendar. As odd as that might sound, my entire life is time blocked down to every hour of the day. So it really helps me stay organized and on track. But yeah, there's so many tools, but those are the first ones that come to mind.
To add to that, right, there's this function on Google Gemini. If you are using Google's or Gmail, then you are also able to click on that mini Gemini icon and you can ask it to search through all your emails. I have found that to be an absolute lifesaver because sometimes you know that the information is somewhere, but it takes so long to find it. So that's another quick AI hack,
Love
underrated
it.
tool, underrated tip that you need to try out. And maybe the second question that I have for you is you mentioned using AI for ops, right? So, what are 3 ways that business owners can start using AI in their day to day?
I think that people aren't really aware of creating custom GPTs and how powerful those are. And so I have a few different GPTs. For the business, I have one that's like mainly more of a like a sales coach that I use. And this GPT knows everything about the company, knows everything about pricing and positioning within our company. And it's kind of like this second brain in a way to me. And I can kind of bounce ideas off of it. Another one is more of a general consultant within our company, and I kind of have that set aside where they know more about the finances, they know more about the operations, they know more about case studies and results and strategy, and I can kind of come there and just talk through some things and see how that happens and works out. We're also using it to create those briefs, like I told, and to kind of say, how would this work from a client point of view, and kind of give them brand questionnaires and all that sort of stuff, and trying to just remember stuff that we can't remember. Like, if a client gives us a 45-page onboarding document, like nobody is going to remember all of that, but thankfully the AI will. And so using those sort of things within our process has become a lifesaver because we can always just go back to that conversation and tap into that again and go from there and kind of help, ease the entire process from that point forward.
Yeah, I also have my own suite of custom GPTs for hundreds of different reasons. One similar GPT that I built is also in sales. So there is a sales guru on YouTube called Jeremy Miner. I'm not sure if you've seen his videos. It's pretty good. So I selected and cherry picked a couple of his longer form tutorials, and then I put that into that GPT. It's one of the best GPTs that I've created because it's so good at objection handling. It's so good at guiding sales calls. So for those of you who are listening and thinking, what are some use cases I can try right now? I think like what Steven you said, building your own GPTs, that is very, very powerful. If you can unlock that, you can unlock so many other things for your business. And maybe final question, right, Steven? So if somebody is starting from scratch, they have no idea of how to really leverage SEO or GEO, what are 3 simple things they can do to get started?
I would say build backlinks and kind of learn what backlinks are and what makes a good or a bad backlink. But that's going to be insanely powerful. It just kind of helps your site succeed from that point forward. The next thing I would say is to learn a little bit about keyword research or strategy and just kind of like different types of keywords and what that looks like and how that fits into your overall business strategy. And then the last thing is once you kind of have those two, you can go and look at how do you create quality content and what kind of is the definition of quality content and what's the definition of bad content too. Like go look at competitors and go try and find things that you're like, oh, I definitely don't want to do that. And then kind of work backwards and go find content that really, impresses you and then kind of reverse engineer that. So I think that it mainly comes down to those 3 things. And if you can kind of dig into that, you should be in a good spot.
And I think one final thing to add to that is you can also approach Steven and his teammates at his
course.
agency. I'm sure they will give you lots of valuable insights. So with that, Steven, thank you for being on the show. Now, who should reach out to you and where can they find you?
Yes, I love connecting with CMOs and founders who are looking to scale their B2B service-based companies or their SaaS companies. We have a great wealth of experience within those 2 arenas, and we're always looking to see how we can help folks and see if we can, make a good fit with a partnership for your SEO.
Awesome to hear that. So thank you again, Steven, for sharing your insights. And thank you, folks, for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the bell for more actionable AI and marketing insights. We'll see you next week. Take care.